What's up, everybody? It's 12:01 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in Brooklyn, New York. My name is Max. This is the MOCA Weekly Town Hall. We have Colborne, we have Daim, we have Renee. Might even get an Untitled later on. Gentlemen, how are we doing?
Super.
All right.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
All right. Less enthusiastic, but still okay.
All right. That's
Yeah.
Come on, we're happy to be here. It's Thursday. It's almost the end of the work week. You know, the work week that we all adhere to here at the museum.
9 to 5 in this.
5 every day on the clock. Well, it's a pleasure to be back here. We have a lot to talk about today. We are getting closer and closer to releasing some incredible new tech that we're excited to continue to demonstrate. Excited to answer questions about. As always, if you are interested in talking to us about whatever we have going on or whatever we have cooking, we are probably too eager to talk about it. You can ask us in the chat right here. You can ask us in our Discord, which we encourage you to join. You can ask us in our Twitter DMs, although those don't get checked quite as often as maybe we'd like. Colborne suggested before we got on that we begin today talking about the article we released on Sunday and Monday titled The Endless Ceasefire. Renee, you wrote the article, so why don't you tell us all what it was about?
Let's Renee, for the uninitiated.
Why don't I take this over? Just to give a brief overview. So, by the way, you can find this essay. It's posted all over our Twitter page and also at museumofcrypto.substack.com if you want to read that and everything else we write. I started writing this article. For those uninitiated, that was a joke about Renee. He would have done a fantastic job, however. But I started writing this piece over the summer. Initially, it concerned what I learned through interviews and conversations with artists and collectors and friends was a pretty well agreed upon atmosphere of suppression around pro-Palestinian speech, in the sense that many people felt that artists, specifically artists, but anyone in crypto art who had spoken publicly about having sympathetically pro-Palestinian views were having their careers negatively impacted. That was most pronounced with artists who are reliant on relationships with collectors and platforms and kind of market makers for their livelihoods. But it reaches all the way across the spectrum of institutions and entities within crypto art. So that was the initial thrust. I spoke to Crypto Natrix, I spoke to Ohms, the collector, I spoke to OXT Joe, the artist, I spoke to Julio Aprin, the photographer, I spoke to others who I'm either forgetting or
named and unnamed, yeah.
Condition of anonymity, because there was a pretty widespread fear of speaking out, even to me, on this topic. Point being that the article is about a lot more. What expresses itself as an inability to speak publicly about pro-Palestinian viewpoints is, to me, much more indicative of an attitude of apoliticization in crypto art, an atmosphere where corporate, I think, ideologies have taken hold, where the best path through chaos is silence or sterility, so as to not offend anyone, so as to maintain universal appeal. I think that that's the driving force behind most collectors' ethos, especially at this high-level group of collectors who we don't have to name, but I think most people have an idea of, institutions too. I came out of this essay quite sympathetic to that class of people, kind of against my will, kind of against my expectations, but I do think it's had a deleterious effect on the art environment. And I think part of the reason that a lot of people, especially OG crypto artists and crypto art kind of people, feel that there's something lacking in the art. And I think a lot of that is because the art tends to be pretty insular, and not kind of touch anything that's happening in the outside world, because that kind of art, that kind of discussion, that kind of expression is not only not being rewarded, it's being kind of directly suppressed, even if the suppression is happening through pretty, I think, understandable and unavoidable means. So I invite you to read the essay. I thought it was pretty, I was happy with it. It's been honestly pretty crazy that so many people have read it, and had kind words. Everyone has read it. It's by far the most read article I've written since, I think, my first, which was about the Bored Apes back in 2021, which is kind of crazy. Especially because I think we had all kind of, I had heard from within MOCA and without to like expect this not really to go anywhere, not really to get any publicity, because people didn't really want to discuss the topic, and the algorithm would suppress it. And that just hasn't been the case. So yeah, it's been pretty cool.
I want to real quick just say a note on like value and values. And then I think we should read a couple of the responses that people wrote just to kind of round it out, because I think they were really informative and also pretty powerful. In the beginning, what attracted to me in the space as a collector was the idea that there were artists on the front line conveying back the values of the crypto movement that had attracted me to it, right? And how this art movement was an expression of those values, how anybody, anywhere could produce a work with something to say under either anonymity, pseudo-anonymity, or as themselves, right? And it was the artwork that was leading. There was no pomp, there was no circumstance. It was presented as is, sometimes with context, sometimes without context, and you could take from it what you wanted. This expression of values was so attractive that I took a small piece of Ethereum and tried to assign a monetary value to it, and this became like the market of value and values. Over time, as more and more people came in, it actually became a market and an investment class. And there you can point to certain artists that could have been achieving higher sales, and you begin to realize that it is kind of art without values, and this kind of became the predominant form, and I think it got supplanted by things that that were CryptoPunks moving into things that were Bored Apes. And I think that is largely just a bit of a metaphor. I think nail in the coffin there would have been Bored Apes buying CryptoPunks. So how do you breathe life back into something that has grown stagnant and commercial? Well, the fact of the matter is that the initial values of this space, right, decentralized, anonymous, geographically agnostic, permissionless, still exists. So there will always be this subclass that sits under the commercial and investment class. But whereas it just was this space before, the people that are concerned with this larger space have almost subsumed this. And a lot of people that were in the bottom space have also moved up to try and take on a bigger platform and more power.
Yeah, I think that's a really great encapsulation. And you helped me a lot with kind of where the essay ended up, in this place of, recognizing that, unbelievable as it seems now, I think especially to people who kind of came into the space maybe in 2022 and 23, maybe even myself who came in 2021, although I had you guys to kind of inform me of the past, like crypto art was like wicked fringe. Crypto was fringe. It was extreme. It was weird. It was untrusted. And it attracted people who were fringe, weird, extreme, experimental, etc. Like that was the entire population of the space, because that's who gravitated downstream from the crypto ecosystem, which already only attracted a percentage of people. And I think that, like, for those who may have only been here since 2022, 2023, like I mean, even myself, who only really got into NFTs, only understood what NFTs were after like the Top Shot boom in 2021, like the mainstreamification of this movement happened really quickly. But before that, it was like radio silence. Like one of my favorite anecdotes is Art Gnome talking about purchasing an NFT from Mohara for like $3 in like 2018, and neither of them knowing if the NFT would send, how they would be able to see it. Like there was no platform on which to view these things. It was just kind of like it was all a good faith experiment because nobody really knew what was working, what the infrastructure was. I'm sure you guys can attest to that. You've been around for much longer than I have. But that's where the movement began. And so naturally, the way that the movement expressed itself was a reflection of the insularity of a pretty extreme population. I think it was, I don't remember who was telling me about like going to like Bitcoin art conferences in like 2016, where like Josie Bellini and Trevor Jones and Colby were like selling like physical Bitcoin art. Like those names are people who have been doing this for a long time in the space, in the 10 years has fundamentally, like you said, Colburn, shifted into something far more commercial. And with commercialization comes corporatization, I think, naturally.
So let's just read some of the comments. I liked Michael. You want to just cue one up behind me, Max?
Yeah. Let me jump in here. Give me half a second.
Or I don't know if Daim or Renee want to share an opinion. All right, I'm in then. I liked Michael Kuch.
Let's see if we can find it.
I got it. Crypto art has locked itself into an aesthetically pleasing but deliberately unconfrontational echo chamber that makes sure to not hurt any collectors, the new gatekeepers' feelings. It has become more and more like zombie formalism, obsessed with superficial aesthetics, celebration of gamification, technical extravaganza, and regurgitating crypto lore. The self-censorship of artists almost all across the board, except Tijo and a few others, is nauseating. To me, it's become akin to a nice gallery opening with some cool-looking LED displays and feel-good ambiance right next to a war zone or a plaza flooded with protesters trying to resist a looming dystopian regime, completely tone deaf to the real conflicts right outside at its doorstep. It looks great, but has not much to say anymore.
I mean, it's a great point. I mean, I think, first of all, like the fact that people are engaging so deeply with what the essay is trying to say is, take myself out of it, it's just incredibly rare that anything, especially anything written, especially anything that's like written and long, this is like 5,800 words. This is not like a beach read, or like, you know, a fast moving interview with an artist. It's like fairly intense work that like asks a lot of readers, and this kind of engagement is really kind of humbling. But I like totally agree with Kuch's point. Of course, I think it echoes my conclusion, right? You can look at all of this art, and it's all great in a vacuum. And I think that that's what it's something that's like kind of stoned me for a while in crypto art, is this sense that like I like all this art. Like I think that it is technically inventive. I think that it's aesthetically beautiful. I think that it is like really successful at like interrogating modalities. I think it's very successful at like exploring internalities, and yet the collective mass of it is just lacking in something. And I think that like Michael Kuch sums it up well here. Like it just doesn't engage with the world, and that's okay, but not when it's a totality. And if any attempt to engage with the world is kind of either just unrewarded by the algorithm or unrewarded by curators or unrewarded by institutions, then what you will naturally have is artists who are just not going to either make that work, or they're going to take that work to like more fringe places like Tezos, which is like, again, totally great for small communities, but it doesn't quite rise to this level of like, I think, quote unquote significance, in the sense that like there's too much art here for all of it to be recognized in the historical canon by scholars, by admirers elsewhere. There's too much for audiences, like a wide audience, to ever find. And so what they will inevitably find is that which is most amplified, talked about in books, put in museums, collected for high dollar figures. That's this kind of like significant level of crypto art. And like that just is the reality. Probably pieces that are selling on Tezos for $3, $5, $10, $15 are just not going to, for whatever reason, break out of the morass of so much artwork and be shown to future generations. And that's just the sad reality. But anyways,
can we scroll down a day and maybe look at this graphic by Donkey?
Yes, let me pull it up.
I thought this was interesting too. And there you go. So let's read it for the people that can't watch along. In the trad art world, political activist art and the art market don't even overlap. Per Andrea Fraser's diagram, I would expect the same in crypto art despite its origins.
So we can is this coming closer, or is it zooming in?
It is zooming in, yeah.
Okay, great.
It looks pretty good to me. I wouldn't even know where to begin to describe this graphic, although it does make sense. So if you are listening, but go ahead, Max.
Yeah, I'll jump in, and I will say that like I've gotten quite a few messages and just across channels, emails, Twitter DMs, etc., comments. I think it's interesting. I was saying this to Ryan Brinkman maybe yesterday, the other day, who very kindly reached out, talking about protest art or activist art. And I am surprised at how often I've heard that this equation that the art that I guess I'm looking for or feel that is lacking is protest art, which I'm not sure I totally agree with. I guess I'm not looking necessarily for art. And I don't think the art that we're lacking necessarily has to be protest art. It doesn't necessarily have to be like politically charged on a given side, right? It doesn't have to be interacting, like trying to bring down a regime, but it does have to be reflecting the world around us. And I think that that's what is missing here. I think it's interesting that people equate what I think, like, even when I hear it myself said out loud, it sounds kind of vague and ambiguous, and kind of protest activist art is a lot more kind of like simplistic to understand in intent. What were you going to say, Coldmore?
Well, I was just going to say that crypto art for me encompasses those two bottom squares, which is really community-based and activist social change. And that comes from the idea that crypto would be a financial revolution. And I think it's in the Museum of Crypto Art's manifesto that like the torch is passed to the artists to communicate this revolution.
I mean, look at like where the power is centered along this graph. I mean, I don't want to, I haven't interrogated this graph enough to like take it as law, but like it is interesting that like you say that if this is where crypto art lives, right, in the community-based activist social change area, that it would be dominated by people who are rejecting or rejected, aspiring and young, because that's who was the pioneers of crypto art. And at the top, established old dominant identities have power, which I think we have watched the power flow upwards.
Well, what happened is you started to lay these other institutions on, right? And suddenly everybody at the top, it forms a funnel right up to them.
Yeah.
But it happened so quickly that it left a lot of people like very lost and confused. We had much more of a market than we did have the counterweight to that, which would be like the academic, cultural, and economic capital that comes with it.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, it's funny. I do feel like we've witnessed, like I've witnessed the entire, 20-year life cycle of an art movement in like the first year and a half that I was here. And it is kind of like everyone always says that like crypto moves so fast. It's like a year and every week, but like that's not untrue. And it can be seen in its like overarching cultural effects. The way that the kind of quote unquote dominant class of artists or collectors changes so quickly. Like, it's funny. I love Die with the Most Likes. And I honestly never really considered the Die with the Most Likes, whose art is like fairly like fringe and weird, would be spoken of as he's often spoken of today in this like class of three with like X-copy people and Die. Die did work for us, like creating artwork for the MOCA Bidders Club, and now you have like Raul Paul.
Well, we did the solo show. That was the last solo show we did.
Oh shit! I totally forgot about that. Such humble beginnings, but like I remember when that third spot, or like it was like XCOPY people and Grant Yoon, and like I don't know why the market does not still exalt Grant Yoon the way that it did, but I'll just there seems to be just like this shifting kind of like here's 4 or 5 artists at the very top of their game, and everyone who has a position of influence seems to like agree collectively on the inclusion of those people. But it just happened.
To me, what happened is that the art market, right, made an appeal to almost like paper institutions and totally missed the base of the pyramid here, which was this activist community-based social change, right? So everybody that had put these big investments suddenly was appealing to these institutions to go and display what they had paid all this money for, really ignoring like the base of the pyramid and the reason that this thing exists to begin with.
Yeah, but the thing at the base of the pyramid is inherently like
rejected.
Yeah, well, it's inherently hard to economize because it desires decentralization and desires like community uplift, it desires power spread along many channels, and that just is never going to work in any kind of I hate to bring economics in this, but like that's the antithesis of capitalism, where money, influence, power naturally flows into certain like super actors. I think probably crypto art could not have survived in its form once money was introduced. And like the fact is that like, and this is the frustrating part of this essay for me, even though it's I think the true part of this essay is that like it's so understandable, right? Like on every level. If I were a collector and I were at gallery shows, at parties, I was hobnobbing with celebrities, I was invited to things, I was given things, like I would want to keep that. I would want to preserve that, even if it meant like compromising some of my values. And if I was an artist who had been struggling my whole life to make a living with my art, and suddenly it's available in front of me, and all I have to do is kind of keep my fucking mouth shut about certain topics, or maybe like move into safer, better trod ground. Like me personally, I think as a representative of most people, like I'd probably do that. Like I crave mainstream validation, mainstream status, like mainstream appeal. But like, I just don't think that most artists are going to deny that. And I think like I used, I want to actually bring up a point that, let's see if we can find it. It's 787's response.
Deleted.
Really?
Yeah.
The one that he put to me?
I think so.
No way. I saw that it was in some whole kind of flame war.
Deleted. All deleted.
Okay. Well, let's see what I can pull from memory. So FK787, the kind of rabble rouser, who him and I have not seen eye to eye in the past at times, left a comment that I thought was incredibly thoughtful and incredibly important, which kind of hinged on two things. One was discussing what he felt was an unsympathetic example of the kind of suppressed art situations that I was using in the essay, because the big kind of example I use is the situation from NFC Summit this previous year, where the artists Cyber UU and Sixella, who had a main stage slot at like 11:30, it was like a prime real estate slot, decided to use that slot to make a pro-Palestinian statement. And then there was a whole back and forth with the founder of an organizer of the conference, John Karp, about whether that piece should be shown, whether it could be shown. Ultimately, it just was shown at its normal time. And then UU and Sixella accused Karp and NFC of censorship and deplatforming because they failed to kind of publicize the work in any way, even though NFC Summit, like all they do is post retrospectives from the conference, like just no mention of UU or that work. Understandable on every side. But what UU and Sixella did was like wildly brave. Like UU was a successful artist, is a successful artist, successful crypto artist, and like collected and kind of respected, I think, from what I've seen across many different channels. Provocative and controversial, but that's not a bad thing. And leveraged that cultural place for the sake of making a statement, which, like it or not, I've heard charges thrown at UU of being like overly dramatic, like narcissistic, look at me, whatever. I deny those charges. I think that like the consequences of what you wanted to do on his market and his public platform here, like the risks way outweighed anything that he could have potentially gained with like a couple days of Twitter centralization. This essay was centralized on Twitter for a day and a half. Like, I got like 40 followers, and that's all that's ever going to happen. Made some conversation, like, but maybe that's neither here nor there. The second part of 787's disagreement with my article was the way that I ignore all of crypto art and only focus on the like significant or like high value, like high selling crypto art. But I think for reasons I've discussed that like bifurcation kind of does exist and needs to exist, even if I don't always eloquently express my love for crypto art and the great mass of it. It's just, I think that there is a realistic difference, and I think it's undeniable that those two things exist, that there is like crypto art and there is like big crypto art. And that's what Robert Alice is going to write about in Passion. And that's what some grad student is going to write about for their dissertation 6 years from now. And that's what's going in the Toledo Museum of Art's exhibitions. Like, that's just the fucking reality. And we can deny that. We can pretend that that's not how it is. And we can cry that it's unfair. And all of that is true, but that just is the way that art history works. You can look, I saw in that graph before, the one that we had brought up, like art history was way closer to the top of the paradigm of old consolidated power than it was down by the bottom in decentralization. But yeah, I mean, it's we can keep doing this exercise if you like, Colborne. I'm certainly happy to continue to talk about people who are talking about this article. But
I think it's a good.
I'd like to I'll make one more point, then I'll shut up. Which is that one thing that has been noted by many people in the comments and to me is the lack of. I'm just going to give you some numbers, right? This essay had 70,000 impressions, has 70,000 impressions on Twitter. It has like almost 400 likes, like 150, 200 retweets. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but like 100 comments. Like this, for at least a second, is probably in front of people, especially those who are terminally online. And it is interesting because I speak at the end of the article to a certain class of collector, and I think the whole article speaks to a certain class of artist. And it has been noted by many and also noted by me that not all, but certainly many in that kind of elevated class of artist, collector, influencer, etc., have just failed to engage with this work on any kind of fundamental level. Not like even in just a completely like showy way. Not a like, not a retweet, not a like great article, read this. Just radio silence. And I don't think that that's collusion. I don't think that that's happening because there's some group chat somewhere where people are saying like, don't give Max the time of day. I think it's just reflective of the lack of reflection in the space and the disinterest in changing the mechanisms of power in the space by those who currently control that power. And that's just the reality. But
and that has always been the case. Of MOCA came before and was defining something else, and these people came in with more resources and supplanted. And it reminds me of a lesson that Robness taught me, that there's always a bigger whale and there's always a bigger influencer, and the powers that be will continue to shift, ultimately, hopefully leading us to some form of decentralization. That's all we can hope for.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I think that we kind of all have to collectively give up on the idea of what success has meant as an art movement. We probably have, but like,
I think we've already done. I think it already happened. This idea, the thing is viable. The idea that somebody can create art somewhere and somebody else somewhere else can consume and purchase and engage with this art or not purchase. It was born from nothing, and for a million philosophical reasons that we've espoused and shown, and as both artists and creators and people that exist in this space have demonstrated time and time again, it is far beyond anything that we could do or say. It just is now.
From the dust you were born, and from the dust you shall return.
Feels good.
Crypto art as an idea succeeded while leaving behind most crypto artists.
Yes.
That's just where we are. But I think the ultimate takeaway from all of this is that a lot of people across the levers of power, across their spheres of influence, and across their specific kind of like activities within crypto art recognize what's going on. They're frustrated with what has happened, and they are grateful that anybody is talking about it. And to anyone who is listening, who has an interest in engaging with this kind of work, like, people are thirsty for it.
Yeah, and I'll say just a message to everybody that like feels that they may have failed. There were also a lot of artists saying, I created this art and nobody ever responded. And there's going to be a lot of that. And there's going to be a lot of people who failed and never made whatever, a sustainable business or a sustainable practice. And I think it kind of just goes to Daim's point, is that, you know, we have a movement that has left behind a lot of the people who settled it or pioneered it.
I think art, I don't know if maybe it was Art Gnome, or maybe he just retweeted it or reposted it at some point, but I feel like every now and then there circulates this I don't know, I think it's usually a screenshot around about how movements basically are eventually co-opted and like diluted by, and I don't think that's the word they use, but basically by imposters, like people who come in and figure out what the sort of superficial outside observer likes about the given movement, and like ratchets that part up to 10 while having none of the substance and none of the foundational basics of the original genuine participants. And it's those people who basically are like showed up to do larping that end up reaping sort of the long-term successes that tend to elude the true believers, if you will.
I think like huge case in point of this, and this is somebody that I've thought was just like incredibly toxic for a long time, was, and I'll just say this because at this point it doesn't really matter, was Kayvon, the founder of Foundation, who basically, like ripped what 01 was, or I'm sorry, we can get there later, but ripped initially what Super Rare was doing, covered it in fancy design, opened it up to anybody, and just unsustainably like drove everybody into this mania, of course, only to see it collapse. And then when that collapsed, move on and attacked what we were trying to build at 01 with Rodeo. And there is a type of entrepreneur that is so attached to like VC growth and the money and trying to show all of these metrics as quickly as possible that they just resort to blowing up anything and everything that is good about something. So it's what you say, they're like a vampire leech on an idea. They suck it dry, they try and blow it out of the water, and it's just like, for what?
I'm not even sure people do it intentionally. Some people certainly do.
I think it's just a personality trait.
I think it's a personality trait. I think it's also just like a way of living. Like, here's an opportunity for me to like, it's really easy to fall.
It's being a tech entrepreneur inside of an art movement,
which is weird, but maybe is the nature of a tech adjacent art movement. But like, anyone is going to fall in love with something that like exalts them. And for whatever reason, there are many reasons, but like this art movement has longed for heroes, and it's longed to be a supplicant to a certain class of people, and it's longed for money and mainstream validation, and bringing that puts you on some kind of a pedestal. I think some people seek out that pedestal at all costs, and they will. We used to say like Batsup Yum has that incredible. I don't know if he made it, but like it was like that inverted triangle of influence. It was like where money flowed with crypto, and it starts with coins, and then it goes to altcoins, and it goes to NFTs, and it goes to art eventually as people look to consolidate influence, cultural influence with the cash that they've made. And like, there's just always going to be a certain class of people who have a lot of expendable income and want to trade that income for cultural capital. And an art movement that is so thirsty for mainstream acceptance and has been so thirsty for, you know, high sales so that people can achieve the kind of financial flexibility that like very few artists ever get to achieve and all dream of, is just going to take those people into their arms and say, like, please don't stop. We love you. We will send you to every gallery. We will send you to every museum. We will lick your fucking boot heel. Just like keep buying, keep retweeting, keep etc. I think, yeah, it's a personality trait, as you say, Colborne. I also want to just point out we got Matt Kane in the chat.
Oh, really?
And now Andre Stelvecchio in the chat. A couple of good lads. Posted a link to an article. Geeks, Mops, and Sociopaths in
That's the one. Yeah, that's what I was trying to reference, but
hell yeah.
didn't remember the weird nomenclature.
That's why we need Matt Kane around.
what a true champion.
Interpretation of what people are thinking. As always.
Only Matt Kane truly understands me.
I felt that too.
The mob almost has like the same haircut than I have.
It's true. You could do that for Halloween.
Yeah, true.
Be a mop.
You'd be a mop. You be the mop, I'll be the bucket.
Save it for the wedding. Yeah, it's just this has been a weird couple of days. Great couple of days, but very revealing about like what. Very encouraging in some respects, very defeating in some respects. But I think the takeaway is that a lot of people are in this same line of thinking, in this same sphere of emotion together. And we may not be able to do much about it, but we can certainly commiserate together. And that I do think has some value. If we're all going to be thrust into this town hall together, not this town hall, but like the town hall of social media together, it's nice that like we can even sporadically find some people who share what we're going through.
Should we move on to what the museum is planning to do? Because we got some big things coming.
I've talked too much.
Turns out people have been busy.
Shocker. Renee, Daim, either of you like to take the floor for a sec? Or for a long time?
Well, I would say maybe Renee could start having sort of the broader view and vision on this, and I can jump in here and there when appropriate.
Yeah, for sure. So we are very soon releasing the Vibe Studio, which is our like long-term strategy around community-driven content creation on top and around the APIs and the huge trove of data that the museum is serving. So we are going to start with a few applications built by the museum that you can play around with, into which we are digging deeper later on, as Daim explains stuff around that. But in parallel, we are going to like build more solid APIs around like the codecs, around the existing API infrastructure of the V2 stack of the museum, better documentation, and improve all of those things to make the life easier for developers. And of course, we are going to provide the example applications that we are going to release with the Vibe Studio and open source them into our GitHub so that you can also like copy paste from there. The idea is really to lay ground for creative vibe coding driven or Conf UI engineering driven media and experience generate like creation around what we've been building. And I think like the codecs about which we've been talking a lot over the last weeks already is going to play a significant role, because it's such a deep rabbit hole for each individual like art deco that has been created over the past months, which is going to allow for prompting of experience of all sorts, basically. Like, been internally thinking about descriptive generation or even totally new ideas. Like, I think about like type of game kind of scenario where you can like art decos converse with each other, like in a more visual way. Like, a lot of things can be done once you attach like a deep personality to each of those 10,000 NFTs, and then you can use AI-driven workflows to let them interact with each other and stuff like that. Of course, also like our ELISA OS agent launcher is going to be released. We will have like a demo application live for those who don't yet have an Art Deco, which we call the Adoption Center. It's like one of the launch applications for the Vibe Studio, which has been Vibe coded within the matter of a few hours as like an example application to which directions and narratives and stories people can like lean into. And of course, like once all of this be built out, we are also into like MOCA and Art Deco tokenomics, how those can tie into that stuff. Yeah.
Can I jump in for a quick second? I know that this isn't really my domain, but the second thing I ever wrote for the museum was a breakdown of the community collection. And I think the community collection has probably gone under discussed and underutilized in the recent years, but the whole idea of the community collection way back in the day, as far as I understand it, was that like we want to decentralize everything in the museum. We do not want to be the sole arbiters of taste, culture, development, etc. And so the idea was, let's bring as many pieces as anybody wants to put in the museum into the museum. Here's the place. They are as much a part of the museum as anything else. We don't hold them, but we certainly display them if they want to be displayed. And I think the idea of the Vibe Studio, or one of the most exciting parts of the Vibe Studio to me, is that it is this meeting place where like all the shit we're working on behind the scenes, as Renee was saying, right? Like ways of talking with Art Deco agents, ways of learning all of these stories and bits of information that we have coded into all of these Art Decos, spinning up your own agents, like all of these apps that we're working on together are going to be put right in concert with what we hope will be a really wide-ranging, what will be a wide-ranging app store of sorts. I can't imagine we're going to charge for these things, but maybe with MOCA token down the line. But anyways, the point is that like an app environment where community-built tools, things that work with us, that work atop what we've built, are just kind of going to be present, so that if you want to build something, we want to provide the platform for that thing to be usable and discoverable and like publicized. Like that is the goal. We have this platform, both public platform and also like technological platform, and we would like as many people as want to be involved in it there with us, which I think has been demonstrated in our ethos basically since the beginning. So Renee was discussing, the kind of things that we're going to have in the Vibe Studio that we've created up front, but we hope that even at launch, we're going to have other kind of apps either available or soon to be available, so that we can continue to grow whatever this is that we're building through this kind of like total network.
And towards decentralization.
Yeah,
right? Relevant to everything we've been discussing on this call.
We don't want power. We want to fuck off. Well, not really, but like kind of. But we want like the things we built and the channels that we own to be useful.
Yeah,
for the community.
I think it's very important to note that this can be a common ground for people to like have something arts and culture in Web3 that is really like crypto art native at the core, to unite around and like gather around and build together in this narrative. And then we can like take that power as like a a group, as a DAO, as like the huge community that we are, and stand for the opinions that we have like at any given time without feeling silenced, and being able to build things without being too serious, also with something like Art Deco's. It's like an experimental like playground where other communities can learn from. And I think the codex in itself is something already where other communities can learn from, to use AI to imbue personality into every NFT of their 10K BFP collection. Because for me personally, like that's the next step. That's what is required to scale out content and interactive experience that doesn't feel the same with each individual asset. Like it is required to be unique. You need to have like these unique data sets for each NFT, and the most unique thing around your NFT shouldn't be a trade combination. Like that's just not enough to feed AI or leverage AI in a way that Art Deco is going to allow the community to leverage it.
Yeah, the top's been completely blown off of what's possible. If I may just jump on a soapbox again, the first long form essay I wrote for MOCA was a defense of the Bored Apes and the defense basically of PFP collections back in like early 2022. Because the way that you can interact with these pieces and like imbue your digital identity with these artworks is pretty novel. But the abilities that AI offers, if correctly imbued into a PFP, I mean, it's beyond just like how it represents you in a visual sense online. Like it's your emissary and also your, I don't want to say butler, but like it's
companion.
Thank you. I was going to say partner. That was mine, but companion is a way better word, right? It's like a companion across a digital world, an evolving digital world. We wrote in MOCA 2.0 when we released that almost a year ago at this point, like part of what we want to do is create everything open source. The museum infrastructure, the toolkits we're building, like we want this stuff to be like stolen, remixed, improved upon. And so, yeah, like the codex is, I think, when we first release the Vibe Studio, will be kind of a complete sink for time and attention because of just how incredibly deep and complex these networks of information that Daim has crafted for each of these decos. I find it very inspiring. I think we all find it very inspiring. And I think that it deserves to be exalted as like a proven and provable path forward for a complete new evolution of how we think about AI agents and how we spin them up ourselves. And it should be the benchmark going forward. And seeing all of that data and seeing all of that variety is kind of staggering. And that will be available day one in the Codex on the Vibe Studio. We'll be, by the way, releasing essays and articles and more discussions about Daim's process for writing 100 million words to stuff into the personalities of these deco agents and what people can kind of expect with all of these kind of Vibe Studio apps at launch. We will be using this channel and then also our Substack and also our Medium to just discuss what those are over the coming weeks. So please stay tuned to that.
Sweet.
I didn't mean that to be like a wrap up. I know that maybe came across as a wrap up, but I was just kind of.
Well, I would like to add I don't know whose background microphone it is. I can imagine it's yours, Max. That there is like a beautiful ASMR of children on a playground.
Oh, yeah. Here.
We don't need to see it.
It's okay.
It's just pretty funny.
You guys see the smiling children back there?
I can hear them.
They're running. They're playing. I live across from a basketball court. Doubles as a playground. So yeah, it's just I can turn my mic off.
So like no, it's just like the children are behind us, man.
The children are okay.
Somebody said. So there was somebody that would come to the comments all the time and be like, "Mocha's for the children," Somebody did it on the art, like like the famous Wu-Tang thing. It's pretty funny. Somebody did it in our art collaboration as well.
Yeah, they're having fun out there. It must be recess.
All we can do is lay the foundation.
Because we ourselves are but children playing.
I mean, it has to be, right? All this wonder of what could be was kind of the beauty of what birthed this thing to begin with.
Unconcerned with consequences, unconcerned with structures of power. Simply imagining and playing
in a sandbox
in the sun.
Mm-hmm.
And trying to exercise power in a pro-social way as opposed to a self-serving way.
Oh, I was caught up on the exercise power. I was like, yes, dang. Power. Those are my fucking toys.
But I mean, I think that makes MOCA so different and so unique, not just in the space but in the world, because I mean, as we were talking, in overwhelming majority of the situations, those with power will fight tooth and nail to keep it and expand it and grow it and fuck everyone else, right? And here's MOCA for I don't even know how many year now. Again, exercising power, in a pro-social way, sort of trying to work for the community and towards decentralization and all that good stuff that actually is not just MOCA's values but supposed to be crypto arts and indeed crypto's values as well. And like we need more of that.
I want to just take a quick moment to discuss Colborne's unparalleled ability to multitask. Posting this 2 minutes ago.
Yes.
I'm on the museum Twitter page. I got a notification. I was like, what the fuck? It was like posted 2 minutes ago. So
you see, I'm also working on a.
Is that your arm or is that a cat?
That's a cat.
Why can't it be both?
Why can't it be both?
What is the cat but an extension of ourselves?
Truly. Okay, well, that was productive, I thought.
I think it was great. Got our friends in the chat. We had a lot to talk about. God, was it nice to have 30 minutes to talk about myself here. See everyone again in 4 months when I'm on the next thing. But I would say if people are listening and like want to learn more about just the tech stuff that we're building, like we are going to kick it into pretty high gear over the coming weeks. Expect more information Sunday in our newsletter. That's museumofcrypto.substack.com. We'll be posting stuff all over our Twitter as well about the Vibe Studio, the Codex, we call it the Adoption Center for Decos. The Deco launcher, like we're continuing to iterate on these things and make them better and make them more usable, make them more interesting, make them more open. And this is shit that we've been working on for like 9 months, maybe not 9, maybe more like 7.
And for less than $40, you can get yourself a deco today.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose that it does bear saying now that like a lot of this functionality, the point is to increase the possibilities inherent in decos. And like decos
maybe we should spend the last 5 minutes just looking at some decos.
Let's do that.
Can do that. Why don't we go to
raster.art? Let's shout out raster.art.
Yeah, we love Raster.
It's pretty crazy that
Well, actually, let's see if it works.
with so much alpha on the past calls, it's still an incredibly amazing opportunity from a price point to come into the ecosystem that we're starting to build.
So if you've never seen these before, you might say, wow, what incredible aesthetic diversity. how did this get determined? This one doesn't even have a face. It's just like melted goo.
Which one? This one?
Or I like the frenetic one next to it too. Yeah, that's the melted goo one. Where did these characters come from?
Well, you know, we are the people that know better than anyone where they came from and the grueling road that led to their birth and arrival. And
All of these are one of one, incredibly unique. How did they do this?
I mean, it started with an idea to create a better fucking profile picture project than anyone had done before because we found aesthetic diversity to be deeply fucking lacking. Turns out that if you're not just chasing a profit and you're actually looking to do something interesting, it is perfectly possible to use the tools that are just widely available, like Comfy UI, to like impart an unbelievable amount of aesthetic diversity. Literally, I think a peerless amount of aesthetic diversity into 10,000 artworks.
Scroll down.
yeah, your PFP doesn't have to be a paper doll.
The idea
Ooh, look at that surrealist background. That one's nice.
I mean, the idea was that, like, I touched on this with the what I said before about that article defending the Bored Apes, is like, if PFPs are used to their highest potential as something that is meant to be our digital emissary through a expanding digital world across metaverses, across agentic landscapes, even just on social media, then like that thing should say more about you than what PFPs to this point have been able to say about you. It should be able to say how you feel, what you think, what your like, I don't know, what your predilections are.
Like those are like Warhol Maoist cats.
Yeah, are you a Warholian cat or are you like a squiggly kind of robot monster?
Impressionist.
Right? Like the idea is that we wanted 10,000 pieces that were so stark, so different, so weird. In some cases, just plain like valuable.
Just the color.
Yeah, that like within this collection, if you just scroll through it for 15, 20 minutes, you can.
Oh, that one's pretty rad. The go up the pixel with the Renaissance background.
Yeah, we love
Mm.
Yes.
I think we achieved that in spades. It was a process of 9 months of innovation with AI generation, including using tools that were like only became available midway through the process. An absolutely insane amount of curation of traits, characters, backgrounds, with not only of the characters themselves, like assemblages of all these different DNA traits, memetics and crypto art and artist self-portraits and traditional art collectors through the ages, all of which are backed up conceptually in the product of like long discussions, but also these backgrounds to honor various epochs throughout art history. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you look at most of these, and it's just hard to understand how any of these could be, you know, even near the floor.
Yeah.
Always funny to see a Kevin.
Yeah, go up to that Kevin one. He looked great. He's like trapped in the skull. Down one. Oh, well, that one is horrific. Yeah, that one.
Oh
like,
wow!
It's like, let me out.
But that was another thing we wanted to figure out. Is like, where does value lie in a PFP project? Does it just lie in things that are rare, or does it lie in like aesthetic diversity? If two things have the same traits, but one is less, is more kind of aesthetically ridiculous, and take these two next to each other, like this one on the right here, Art Deco 5243, is like patently bizarre. And like, could this be more valuable simply because aesthetically it's odder, weirder, rarer, stranger? It's just an ongoing.
Also, the background is no Roy. What the hell is Roy up to?
Yeah, that's great.
Matt Kane said 5382 is Leo DiCaprio in the Revenant after that bear mullet. Let's see if we can
Oh my gosh.
search on here.
Who knows?
You can go do like Control F.
Wait, we have our own codex for this, don't we?
Yeah, we can't reveal it yet.
Oh shoot, that's too.
But go
I
back
found
into
it.
this.
I found it.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Well, I can send it maybe on their WhatsApp group. I found it on OpenSea though.
Click on one of them, and then in the URL you should be able to just like
This one
change the.
Boom, that's it.
Yeah.
True.
Oh wow! What the hell?
Leo!
Sitting at the floor amid abstract expressionism.
It's a year, almost a year after release, and we're still being surprised.
That ABEX background's pretty sweet too. It
It is
also looks like it says NFT in the bottom right corner.
Like, I personally have been over these pieces 1,000 times, and it's so easy to just forget
Yeah.
what the hell's in this collection.
Pair that old Leo with an 18-year-old Deco.
So I really dislike these Pudgy Penguin ones.
Let's see what the highest price one is.
The Pudgies are very distinct. Like, I always love to find a Pudgy.
Colborne never liked the Pudgy ones.
No,
I like
I
them.
tried to curate them out. But that Finch in the future is kind of cool.
Oh, this is my cousin's. He owns this one.
Nice.
Yeah, that motherfucker.
Wait, what?
And of
Okay,
course,
can you click on that one?
he revealed one of the traditional.
Oh,
art.
the flower and the bird. Okay.
And all I got
It
was
is
crap.
fire.
Oh, look, there's like a
Yeah.
RoboCop on a building, a giant Evangelion.
One by Jay for real. What up, Jay?
Shout out Jay for real.
Keeping it in the family. Like, come on, guys! What are we seeing that everyone's not seeing?
With humans, you should get your Art Deco before the agents are coming for them.
We're
And
too attached.
they have like all these compute and cryptocurrencies to pay them and get them before.
Whose goodwill ambassador will this deco be?
Yeah, who is going to? This is an AI overlord.
Yeah, who wants to speak to that one?
Probably the people who
Become romantically attached.
are the target of my essay.
Also, I should note, almost a year after launch, my now 3-year-old son, who started watching the montage videos I made from decos back when he was 2, still regularly asks to watch those montage videos.
I'm telling you, MOCA's
He
for the kids.
He treats it as though it was one of the cartoon choices he has. Sometimes he'll ask for Teletubbies, sometimes he'll ask for something or other, and sometimes he'll ask for the monsters.
The monsters.
This is the IP that kids want.
When Walmart.
Put a brain rot, guys. This is what it fucking looks like.
Yeah, that is.
This is all of us.
What did we say? We are a multitude. We exist as multitudes.
Yeah, who said that? That's not Matt Cain.
Matt Cain said that?
Yeah, that's the underlying ethos. Well, I mean, it's Walt Whitman, but that's the underlying inspiration behind his Anons and Multitudes. But,
whenever you think you do something,
I don't
it's
know.
either Walt Whitman or Matt Cain that does it first.
Listen, I'm just like the leading living scholar on Matt Cain's artwork. So
Yeah.
Well, decos are legion.
There goes our lead, Jay. Exactly.
it's 1:04. Let's get out of here, guys. I think this was a really fun episode.
Deco Marines. Everybody use the hashtag Deco Marines.
Deco Marines.
All right.
When
Yeah.
Group. All right, cool. Colborne, Fahim, Renee, thank you very much. Thank you, Andres, Delvecchio, and Matt Cain, and Gypsy Lou for hanging out in the chat with us. Thank you, everyone, for being with us and watching, and we cannot wait to be back next week. We're going to show off some fucking crazy tech, and hopefully this saga with my essay is over, and we can move on forever. But yeah, see everybody next week, same time, same place.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye. Thank
Ciao,
you.
ciao.
Do you guys do that the millennial, the Gen Z heart thing? I can't do it.
Is that it?
You do. It's like this one. It's like because they don't do this. They do like this, but my hands have to gnarl if I want to put them in that position. They do it so fucking fast. Okay. Thank you, Zanichka, for being in the chat too. Okay, we're out.
Yeah. The gesture needs young bones.